Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of questions from our viewers.
All right.
The first question is, can you explain more about the mechanics of the heart chakra? To be more specific, how focusing on your heart chakra can be more beneficial than focusing on other chakras, and how the heart chakra relates to other chakras?
It is not more beneficial. It depends on what it is you wish to focus on. Obviously, the other chakra systems in your body are also essential. They are all interconnected. They all take their cues, in some sense, from the heart. As we said, the heart reflects the vibration of the higher mind, kind of like a drum. It repeats the vibration in physical terms, so the physical mind can receive it along the neurological pathways and through the blood. But then, of course, the physical mind may have belief system filters in place that will color or filter or change that vibration, feeding back to the heart the degree of alignment or the degree of misalignment from the original vibration that was sent from the higher mind to the heart. The heart then disperses that vibration to all the centers of the body, all the chakra points, all the cellular structures along the neurological network of the body, thus allowing the cells to know whether you are generally in alignment with your true self or out of alignment, and how far out of alignment you might be. This is what can cause the idea of disease in the body by the heart reflecting the degree of filtering or negativity in the belief system of the physical mind to the rest of the body. And in that sense, it is a great organizer for the body as to what is going on. It is a synchronizer of that vibration that comes from the higher mind to the heart, but then through the physical mind and its belief systems, and then to the body. This is how they generally are interrelated and interconnected. Essential in that sense, but not essential in that it is more important than any other chakra system in the body or chakra point. It again depends upon what you wish to focus on.
Okay, thank you. This question is, as a mother, I experience unconditional love with my daughter. As she crossed over, I feel so disconnected and lost. The pain has been overwhelming, and I do not understand why a mother has to go through this after experiencing blissful, unconditional love with a daughter. Why is this acceptable?
The idea is for those that are still physical, when close loved ones pass into spirit, to reach out to them and allow themselves to still know that bliss can be experienced, rather than having a belief system that the person has been lost. This is part of the training that you have agreed to as part of the evolution of the human species on your planet at this time, to have made an agreement with someone beloved that would cross into spirit before you, so that you can practice knowing that you are still connected, can reach out to them and still feel them and still develop a communication with them. The idea of treating this as if you have lost something is what causes the pain. Allowing yourself to know that even sometimes by continuing to experience this or define it as a loss allows you to experience communication from them as pain, as grief. If you would let go of the idea that they are lost or gone, that they are still very much present with you in a variety of ways, just on a different level, then you will honor the agreement you made with your daughter to allow her to stretch your consciousness into spirit so that you may experience the benefits of making those connections in your physical reality. This is a great favor and loving thing that she has done with you, to give you the chance, while still physical, to expand your awareness, expand your consciousness, and experience in your life the benefits of making the stronger connection consciously to the idea of her in the spirit realm.
Thank you. From an absolute standpoint, is my consciousness experiencing Is my conscious experience absolutely all that there is without anything being outside of it? Or do others have their own conscious experience outside of my consciousness? Does oneness not invalidate any separation, like something being outside of my consciousness?
It depends on the level that you're looking from. In other words, you can have an experience of separation, which is what you have in physical reality. That doesn't mean you actually are literally separated. Again, the paradox is that you are using your connection to create an experience of separation. You couldn't have an experience of individual separation if you actually weren't connected to all that is. So in that ultimate sense, from that perspective, no, there is no outside. But from the experience of individuation, from the experience of creating the illusion of separation, then yes, you can have an outside, and there are many beings you may be unaware of that are having their own experiences. Your experiential reality only contains your versions of other beings. They exist in their own right, in a sense, outside of you, and there may be millions of them that you do not experience because there is no reason for you to create a version of those beings in your reality experience. At the same time, this is all happening within the all that is, that has no outside. But you have to understand that you cannot necessarily mix your language that way. You can't mix your definitions that way in a coherent sense. You have to understand what level that you're talking from. When you say, is there really an outside? If everything is one, there shouldn't be an outside. Well, yes, on that level, that's true. But you're talking from the experience of having created the illusion of separation, which creates the illusion of an outside and many beings that you may not be aware of outside of yourself.
Amazing. What happens to those people that have heart transplants or artificial hearts in relation to the multi-level aspects of, your native heart when you have a normal heart?
Well, again, as many people on your planet have experienced, you may start picking up on some of the vibrations that were connected to the heart of the other individual and take on some of those qualities. In a sense, it is a way of making a stronger connection to another individual by actually having their physical heart in your body. It's one way to understand the connection that exists through vibration between all of you, whether you have a heart transplant or not. But nevertheless, you can start exhibiting, as many of you know, some of the traits and qualities of the other person whose heart has been donated to you. So, the artificial heart, in that sense, may connect you to a different level of consciousness that might be closer to the concept of artificial intelligence. So it depends upon the reasons why you have chosen to have that experience, what it is you have agreed to connect to, how it is you will utilize that connection, whatever it is, in your particular reality application to move forward in your life, and what lessons you can learn from the connections you have made to something that you consider to be other than yourself.
Which kind of negative belief systems are behind the emotions of suffering, longing, and feelings of loss involved with unrequited love? What can one do in order to transform so that there's only love left? And what if one is emotionally detached, but the other person is in love and is suffering because of it? What can you do in order to alleviate suffering?
First and foremost, in any form of relationship, make absolutely no assumption about what the relationship is about. You don't know what it's about. No matter how strong it feels, no matter how strong the attraction, that doesn't tell you what the relationship is in your life for, because it can still serve many different purposes, even if you are absolutely attracted, magnetically attracted to someone, doesn't mean that it is a particular kind of societal assumption of what that relationship should look like in terms of how it plays out physiologically. So the idea is to drop all your assumptions and let the relationship show you what it is. And the idea of pain and suffering in any love relationship, again, may have to do with beliefs in lack of worthiness, or simply definitions you have about what those connections mean that actually are not real in that sense, that are not relevant for what the relationship actually is. So we would simply always encourage you to really clarify what definitions you have about what you think any relationship is supposed to be, because they're all basically for the purpose of reflecting to you what you need to know to be more in love with yourself and all that is, which will then give you more reflections of connection to other people as well in a more positive sense. But all suffering and all pain is generally the result of the resistance to your true self, your natural self, and the imposition of belief systems and definitions that are out of alignment with who you truly are.
Okay. How can I remain as my true, unconditional, loving self when my egoic self pops up and is very convincing as real? When I'm in a flow state, I can't see how I could forget my ego, and yet it comes and goes just like everything else somehow.
What you're referring to is the negative ego. You will never lose the ego as long as you're physical, because the ego is the physical personality that allows you to have a physical experience. So it's not about losing the ego. It's about defining yourself as in alignment with it and letting it do its job, which is just to focus you on having an experience in physical reality terms. But the idea of making it in control, having it be a controlling factor, like you have to know what's going to happen, you have to know what kind of outcome is going to happen for you to feel like you're in control, and so on and so forth, is not the focus that it was designed to have. Its only focus as a typical natural ego structure, a physical personality structure, is to give you an experience of physical reality. So the idea is to go with your flow, knowing that the ego, being allowed to do the job it was designed to do, will simply give you the opportunity to experience what's happening, but the ego is not designed to know what's going to happen. That's the purview, shall we say, of the higher mind.
So interesting. I act on my passions every moment I can, but lately I've noticed that I have expectations. How can I help myself to not have expectations? And what negative beliefs would I be holding on to by having expectations?
Expectations may be too general of a term because you can always expect something is going to happen. There's always a consequence to an action or a choice. What we are refining that definition to be is not having insistences or assumptions, not just general expectations. The idea of insistence means, again, you do not trust the way your life unfolds and what it brings you as being the thing you actually need, and think from the negative ego that you know best what the outcome should actually look like, when in fact it may not need to look like that at all for you to be truly served. So it's about dropping the assumptions as to what's supposed to happen, insistences on what you think should happen, and simply expect that what needs to happen will happen, and then how you respond to it will be exactly the measure of how much you have let go of any insistence on the outcome.
So how will I know if I'm actually following my excitement or I'm just avoiding fears?
Well, again, you have to be honest in your self-examination. If it comes right down to it, pretty much everyone knows the difference between excitement and anxiety. You simply have to be honest about why you would be afraid of something, why you might be anxious about something, by letting yourself feel that feeling and not dismissing it, not disguising it, not dampening it. If you are anxious, let yourself feel it so that it's clear that you're coming from a fear-based belief, and then you have something to work with. So honesty and willingness to experience the emotions as they come up and own them, because if you don't own them, you can't change them. Acknowledge them for what they are clearly, without fear, and then you will be able to examine and discern the difference between true excitement and anxiety very easily. You just have to be honest within yourself about what it is you're experiencing and examine whether or not you are running from something or running to something.
Couldn't like your negative ego delude you into thinking that what is actually your passion is not, and make you think you're running from fear, based on whether you're more like a self-critical person that would lean towards finding fault with yourself, with the way that you're following your passion. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but again, the idea is that's relatively temporary if you are open and willing to have an honest discussion with yourself about what it is you're actually experiencing. Always take a moment to stop. You don't have to rush headlong forward in anything. You can take a moment and examine your choices to find out whether that choice is based on a positive or a negative belief. Take that time. That's what that time is for. You don't have to rush ahead. So you will have the discernment if you understand that you're always willing to be open and honest with yourself and take the time to examine why you are choosing what you're choosing. That's the key. Why am I choosing this?
How can I find out my belief system behind a situation? I understand honesty is very important, and I'm completely honest and willing to explore myself. But I always go into some loop when finding answers, and I don't know how to break the loop. How can I break that loop of trying to find out what is my hidden belief system?
Explore the loop itself. In other words, the loop itself is obviously a fear-based belief system perpetuating itself and preventing you from moving forward. Therefore, you must be getting something out of it. The belief system within you must, in a sense, be convincing you that you're getting something out of looping. So ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I stop looping? What am I getting out of looping? It's obviously a procrastination mechanism. So, again, it still takes honest self-examination, but the subject of the examination is the concept of the loop itself. It doesn't happen automatically. You have been convinced by some fear-based belief system that you should loop. It's not out of your control. It may feel like it, but it's not. It's a choice you're making to continue looping because you're afraid that if you stop looping, something worse will happen. So take that stance and explore what you believe might be worse if in fact you didn't loop at all.
Is that essentially the same thing as like ruminating, where something happens, a person gets upset, and they just keep replaying it over and over and over in their mind?
Yes. It's preventing them from moving forward because they have chosen to be in a loop of rumination. That should be your first clue that you're afraid that something worse will happen if you stopped doing that. It doesn't mean something will happen. It just means you're afraid that it will.
Okay. How do I know the difference between a limiting belief system that is using my emotions and thoughts versus my actual thoughts and emotions that come through my heart?
Again, we have answered this.
Okay.
You have simple, self-honest examination, and when you are willing to be open to that and truly clear and transparent within yourself, it's very easy to tell the difference between why you choose to do something and whether that is from fear and anxiety or from true excitement. Ask yourself, why am I choosing this? Why? How does this experience, even the negative one, serve me? Do I believe it safeguards me from something worse? You have to ask these questions of yourself, and you have to answer them honestly.
So another question is, real anger is around 15 seconds, right? And then after that, it turns into judgment, basically.
Yes.
So how about other emotions like sorrow, sadness, shame, being hurt, and all that when you're continuing to experience that beyond, let's say, 15 seconds?
All the same. It's all the same mechanism. And perhaps the idea, again, is better expressed as alignment. So guilt, shame, these things, again, are simply emotional components that in the natural state are simply matters of recognizing the difference between true alignment and how far out of alignment you may be based on the choices you make. It only takes about 15 seconds to have that sensation course through you and recognize that what that is a measurement of the difference between alignment and misalignment. That's all that sensation is. You're out of alignment. Therefore, if it lingers beyond the 15-second mark, you have already added self-judgment to it, gone into beliefs of lack of self-worth, lack of capability, so on and so forth. All of those experiences are simply a rush of energy that gives you the difference between alignment and misalignment so that you can choose to realign yourself or you can choose to wallow in self-judgment.